My name is Jalen, and today we are going to be talking about and looking at the whole book approach. So what is the whole book approach? The whole book approach is based on Megan Lamberts' book, Reading Picture Books with Children, How to Shake Up Storytime and Get Kids Talking About What They See. In this book, we learn about the 6 important aspects of the whole book approach: trim size and orientation from Chapter 1, jacket and covers from Chapter 2, end papers from Chapter 3, front matter from Chapter 4, typography from Chapter 5, and page design from Chapter 6. We learn that we should slow down when reading picture books with children and analyze different aspects of the book. Everything means something, and we as readers can gain so much information if we just slow down. We also need to make sure that students are being involved in this process. Their interpretations and insights are very important. Today, we're going to look at 2 picture books, and I will demonstrate how to use the whole book approach. So the first book is The City of Angels. The title of this book is The City of Angels in and Around Los Angeles by Julie Jaxall and Brian Lewis, illustrated by Elisa Kelvin. The publisher is Dutton Children's Books, and this book was published in 1999. The summary of this book is each page focuses on different parts of Los Angeles. Each page goes into detail about that place and special things that go on there. So on the front of this book, we can see we have a lot going on. We can see the entire city of Los Angeles, and there's a lot of detail in the city of Los Angeles. And this book really breaks down the entire city. We can see a baseball field, some mountains, lots of buildings that are different colors, and some have different architecture, which is explored more in the story. We can also see roads and a body of water, and around the book we can see angels. The spine of the book, we just see the title, the author, and the illustrator. The back of the book has many angels, and we know that they're angels from the title and the wings that they have. And the blue background may represent a sky, and we'll see some more blues shown throughout the story. The next book is Mother Bruce, and that is the title of the book, Mother Bruce and X'd Out is Goose by Ryan Higgins. The publisher is Scholastic, and this book was published in 2016. The summary is Mother Bruce. Bruce is very grumpy. He's a grumpy bear, and Bruce goes out to find some eggs and takes some from a goose and goes home to cook them. And when he comes back, the eggs have hatched, and they think that Bruce is their mom. That's the first thing that they see. And so Bruce tries to return the gooselings, but Mrs. Goose has already flown south for the winter. So Bruce is stuck with the gooselings, and he is excited when he sees these other geese flying south for the winter. So he explains migration to the geese, but they don't listen. They stay with Bruce, and in the end, they migrate to Miami together, and they're happy. So on the front of the book, we can see Bruce and some geese that are crawling all over him. And there's no spine on this book. It's just stapled. It's a paperback. And the back of the book shows the geese walking out of their nests. If we open the book and look at it from back to front, it kind of looks like the geese are walking out of their nest to Bruce. So we could predict that the complexity and detail in the City of Angels cover may reflect a more complex story than Mother Bruce. So first we're going to look at trim size and orientation. In the City of Angels, we notice how this book is vertical to show how big the city is and all of the very tall buildings. Whereas in Mother Bruce, we can notice that the book is horizontal to reflect the journey that Bruce is going on throughout this story. Next, we're going to look at the jackets and covers from Chapter 2 of Reading Picture Books with Children. In the City of Angels, the book does have a jacket, but if you take the jacket off, the cover of the book is actually the exact same that's on the jacket, which does not always happen. In Mother Bruce, it doesn't have a jacket, but like we discussed earlier, there are still a lot of things we can notice about the cover to tell us more about what's going to happen in the story. We can notice Bruce's facial expressions, for example. Bruce looks to be frowning, and his eyebrow shape leads me to believe that he's not happy or maybe confused. These geese look a little silly to me, climbing out of their nests on the back and crawling all over Bruce. And then there's a little goose that's crawling on Bruce, and he has a crayon in his hand, which is a little silly. The end papers in the City of Angels show information about the authors and the illustrators, and there's some more blue pages like we saw in the back. In Mother Bruce, the end papers show Mother Goose in the South on a beach with a little turtle saying mama. And when comparing these end papers, we can maybe see that the City of Angels book could be intended for an older audience, again, because the amount of detail and information. Mother Bruce's end papers finally shows Mother Goose, who we haven't seen throughout the story because she went south right in the beginning. In the City of Angels, we can look at the front matter. And so we can see blue pages and then a closer look at Los Angeles. And the next page, we can see this building that's a public library. We can see that on the sign. And we still see a lot of people, plants, and the angels are reading now, but they're still present. And we can see this book has a lot of dedications, one to the late mother of the author, another to the children of Los Angeles, to LA families, and many other people from all around Los Angeles. We then see a table of contents broke down by the places covered in this book. And again, we can see the angels who are all playing different instruments on this page. So next, notice on the first front page, Bruce is sitting at a table with food ready to eat, but he's all by himself. And on the next page, we can see a green background that kind of looks like the grass from the front cover. We can also see that the author dedicated this book to Griffin, and it says, "The silliest goose I know." Next, looking at typography. On page 12 of City of Angels, we can see an example of what the typography looks like throughout the book. We can see the place, which in this case is Little Tokyo, and Little Tokyo is bigger and bolder. The letters are bigger and bolder on the top of this page than all of the other information. But then we can see a lot of information about the place, and I know where to start reading because of the bigger, different colored first letter at the beginning of the reading of the paragraphs. In Mother Bruce, we notice how this book uses big words for the bear. Here he is extra grumpy and says roar, and roars big. Whereas the geese have small text because they're much smaller. On this page, we can see they're all sleeping and all of the Z's are the same size. This can show a peaceful and quiet, how everything is just quiet when they're sleeping. And on this page, we can see that the author wants us to notice how much Bruce did not want the gooselings because of how the word not is in all capital letters. Next, we'll notice page design. In the City of Angels, notice how on page 18 and 19, the illustration goes over the gutter, spreading across 2 pages. When illustrations cover 2 pages, we as the reader need to take more time to focus on the detail of illustrations. Notice how there's a lot of text, but the illustrations are also very large. We can infer that the authors and illustrator value the illustrations just as much as the text. In Mother Bruce, on this page, we can see the different scenes that are being depicted because of the different colored boxes behind Bruce. We can see on the next page that when Bruce says roar, that the page is full and colorful. And on the following page, we can see that the little gooselings are in the center of the page, but the use of white space shows how they may feel alone or sad. Now, when we compared those 2 books, we used the whole book approach. We used those 6 aspects to compare the 2 books. But I want to encourage you to use the whole book approach on your own. I want you to find books that you would like to look at deeper. Any book that you pick, you can dive deeper into. There's always something. The more that we read the books, the more we can get out of it. The more that we look at the books, the more we can get out of these books. So I really want to encourage you to use the whole book approach and just slow down when you're reading with your children. I went through this very fast. You can watch it again. You can pause the video as you go. You can look at your own books. And at the end, I've just included my APA citations. So I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video.